Just easy is good? Okay. So, have any of you done these stories with me before? No? Okay. All right, well, let's start with this one shouldn't be too easy. Let's try it today and see how it goes. Here you go. So, first thing you should do, just like when someone is speaking, right? There's always more than just the words. So, what does this word mean? For example, when my father-in-law is talking to me, there are a lot of words in Chinese that I don't know. And my father-in-law has like no English. So, when my father-in-law is talking to me, if I can get the context, then usually I can understand most of what he says. If we're in the kitchen, if we're eating food, then when he's talking, usually I guess he's talking about the food, right? If we're outside and he's pointing at his car, then I guess from that he's talking about his car. So, there are always things other than the words. If you look at that picture in the back, on the back wall, if you look back there, right? So, there's a poem there. But the thing is, you don't need to start with the English words. Look over here. You don't need to start with this. And this is the mistake most people make. The teacher gives them something and they start reading it. That's wrong. Don't do that. You see this? First thing you should see is there's a picture with a bird. What kind of bird is it? There's a title. That's important. At the end, oh, there's a date here, right? We can see that this is 100 years ago. So this writer is already dead. But also, it's 100 years ago. So his English is probably a bit different, right? When you look at a text, there's always more than just the words. So use the easy part first. And then you should have questions. So here, for example, there's a picture, right? Now, it's not a very good picture. Right? I'm a language student. I'm not an art student. But there's a picture here. There's a name. So we start by asking this simple question. What is a gargoyle? Or even, what is that in the picture? And the key to reading and wanting to read more is asking. Have you ever watched a TV show where, you're reading again. Okay, everybody do this. Take paper and just do this. Turn it over. And we put that in, right? Turn it over. Just for a moment. Just trust me, okay? Turn it over. Have you ever watched a show, a TV show, where at the end of the show, something happens and you want to know what happens next? Right? That's how they make you watch it again. You have a story. In the story, something happens, and then you find out what it is. And then at the end of the story, there's a little bit more, right? Like in Marvel movies. You know Marvel, not Batman. Spider-Man, right? watch Spider-Man, right? And at the end of every Spider-Man movie, there's a little bit more, right? So in the next movie, you have something that you want to see. That's how they trick our brain into wanting to watch that movie. And you can do that for yourself. Why do people get bored with reading? You have a story, and then you start reading, and then you just stop reading. You stop reading because you stop asking questions. You don't care what happens. So what? He dies. 没关系. Right? The way to keep reading is to keep asking questions. So, when you see something on a page, ask. But then there's more. You guys know the scientific method? 这个有听过吗? Scientific. It's a fancy name for just a learning process. It's what we do in science. The first thing. Ask. What do you do next? You have a question. 有答案，真的，对不对？这是有错。It's not right. Second is guess. Right? That's what your brain does all the time. So, if you hear something, maybe you think you know what it is, right? Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. But as soon as you hear something different, or you see something different, your brain does this. It asks, what is that? And then it guesses the answer. And that's how you learn. But there's one more step. Check your answer. If you are right, then you learn. If you're wrong, you guess again, right? So every time you hear something or see something or feel something, every time you put your hand in your pocket, I mean, you can't see what's there. If you put your hands in your pockets and you feel something, you think you know what it is, right? But you have to check and see for sure. So that's what your brain does. Use it. You see here a picture, you have a question. What is that? Check. But before you check, guess. I see this picture, I see this word, this must be a gargoyle. It's a good guess, right? And then you keep reading. What else do you see on this page? Before we look at this, what other context is there? What else do you see? You look at the page now. So, the more questions you have in your brain, the more you'll want to read it, so the more you'll understand. Right? So what else do you see? We have a picture, we have a name, how's mom? Okay? And what does it say? Well, read this little thing at the top. Start with that. 有没有中文的字？啊 ，So 中文的字是什么？Okay, so that tells us the name of a dictionary, right? So from that, what does this 2,600 mean? 这个2600是什么意思？ How many words? Yeah. Right? That tells you something about it. Every little bit that you can ask about builds the interest, so your brain wants to know. So, all right. There's a couple more things that you'll see in here, but we can kind of ask as we go along. So, how about you guys start reading it together? Okay, 可以一起念. Okay. So, read it out loud. 1, 2, 3, go. 一起念. Come on, go. Okay, so the first paragraph, just a couple sentences. Does that tell you something about the picture? Like, if I'm looking at this, one of my questions will be, what is he sitting on? This is a gargoyle, right? But what is he sitting on? Right? If you just look at the picture, it could be a desk. This could be a fancy chair. We don't know what he's sitting on. But your brain has that question. So, now we have an answer. Okay, this paragraph again. 大声一起念，大声一点, okay? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, now, I have to ask, when you see this symbol in Chinese, what does it mean? Yeah, so, is it okay if you just pretend it's not there? So it has a meaning, right? And you know that this one in English has the same meaning. We use it differently. It doesn't go in between. It has to go here, right? It's not the same. But it means the same thing.